Hello, everybody. Okay, so imagine this. You are applying for a visa to Australia or Canada or New Zealand, and the English test that you are doing asks you the question, you spilt coffee on a friend's clothes, what would you do? What test is it? It's not IELTS. It's a test called the PTE, the Pearson Test of English. And they now have questions like this. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. So if you're new here, my name is Pam and I teach English lessons, give information about study abroad, and I also teach the Pearson Test of English, which is an international test of English, one of the biggest, and it can help you get a visa to many different countries or get entry into university or entry into college for many different institutions. So it's a pretty big, important test. And if you know about the PTE, you probably know that this year, just this August, there were some really big changes to the PTE. And one of the biggest changes was that they've added two new question types. Two new question types, both in the speaking section of the exam. One is called Summarize Group Discussion, and one is called Respond to a Situation. So if you check my YouTube channel, you can see that I have already posted strategies, videos really focused on clear, simple, easy strategies that you can use for both these question types. But I also like to dig a little deeper. So today's live, I'm going live so we can be unfiltered and unedited. You can ask questions and I can really show you what a question is like more realistically. We can work through it together so you can understand how to get a better speaking score in the PTE. So today we'll do that for respond to a situation. Yeah. Last week, I already went live to go deep on Summarize Group Discussion, and that recording is also on my channel. So please go back and have a look. Today, it's all about respond to a situation. Okay, so let's get started. Firstly, I wonder if you guys know what is respond to a situation? What is the question? Well, first of all, it's both written and an audio. So you can both read and listen to the question. It's very short, just maybe up to 60 words, and it will pose some kind of problem for you. So the situation is usually a problem, and then you have 20 seconds to think and 40 seconds to respond. Okay, so short reading and listening, 20 seconds thinking time, 40 seconds response. And the point of this question is to test your ability to speak appropriately. Okay, so PTE is moving in a direction away from their very robotic, do you pronounce things perfectly on the speaking question? That's always typical PTE, right? PTE already has questions where you must read some text aloud and pronounce it beautifully. They already have a question where you must listen to a sentence and remember it and repeat it perfectly. Now they have added this question, and also the Summarize Group Discussion question is also similar in function, where it's really checking your ability to speak like a normal human being, okay? To check that you can respond in real life situations. So you don't need highly academic language for this. You don't need fancy vocabulary. You don't need anything special, but you do need to sound very polite and very natural. And that's not always easy if you aren't familiar with using English every day in real life situations. So I want to give you my strategy, but I want to explain to you that my videos gave you a very simplified strategy that I think is great for those of you who are aiming for a PTE of, maybe in the 60s or 70s. But if you want to go high, if you want to go up to the 80s and 90s, I want to go a little bit deeper and give you some more thoughts on what to do today. Okay, so why don't I begin by just telling you what I think is the best strategy for handling this kind of question type. So first of all, be kind. Step one, be kind. Now, it sounds crazy that an English test cares about whether you're kind or not, and you might think, why would they bother? The point is, like I said, they're testing how appropriately you can speak English. And what does that really mean? It means that you speak in a normal, polite fashion. And speaking politely is more complicated. There's more vocabulary, there's more complex grammar than speaking directly. So if you're able to do it, it means you have a higher level of English. So if, for example, someone, spills coffee on me, or if I spill coffee on someone, if I just answer, oh, oops, yeah, I'm not being very polite, I'm not using many words, and I'm not showing off my ability to use English very well. So if you focus on being kind for this test, then the side effect is that you give it more language, but also you're doing what PTE want. You are giving them appropriate language. Okay? So that's the most important point. Strategy number one, be kind. Remember, be kind. That's what they want. Strategy number two. Now, here's where it gets complicated. On my strategy video, I recommended that you use the word would. And that is because would is showing that you're talking about an imaginary situation. And we are responding to imaginary situations here. So if we say, I would do this, I would say that, then we're showing that we are responding to that imaginary situation. Should you really do that? It depends on your level, and it depends on how well you can think quickly under pressure. Okay? So in my video, I recommended that, and I still stand by that strategy for those of you who struggle to think quickly under pressure and who maybe don't have a large bank of natural responses to these situations. Now, that's because you have to fill 40 seconds, which is longer than it sounds. You have to fill 40 seconds with words to respond naturally and politely to a situation. It's not always easy to do that. If you use would and follow my template, I have a whole template saying, I would do this, I would say that, I wouldn't do this. Yeah, that gives you a structure and it gives you something to do, to fit every possible scenario, right? So I am going to just now copy paste and put a template and some questions in the comment box here. So if anyone who is watching, they can have a look at that, and that will make it easier for you to follow along with me. Okay, it's in. I hope you can see it. All right, so you can see there, I'm just going to read it along with you. You can see there that I have put in a template, yeah? Okay, and my template basically is when people, so for example, I've spilt coffee. When people have coffee spilt on them, they often feel blah, blah, blah. Okay, so let me just give you the template here. I'll read it out loud first. When people something, they often feel something. So I'd try to be something. In this situation, I'd probably say blah, blah, blah. I wouldn't say blah, blah, blah. I would blah, blah, blah. Okay, so the important point is that your response is kind, and it's also very important that you put a direct response in there. So, yeah, in this situation, I'd probably say, I'm so sorry, I spilt coffee on your clothes. How can I pay for some new clothes, or can I pay for your cleaning? Something like this. So you'd embed that in there. Now, that gives you an easy way to fill 40 seconds using that kind of a template. But as I said, if you are a confident person under pressure, if you have enough language and enough ideas to fill 40 seconds well, then go for it. Aim for that higher score. Aim for 90. And if you're aiming for 90, speak directly. All right? That's really what Pearsons say they want. They do want you to speak directly, and then you're not going to use my template. If you're doing that, it would be a little different. So let me now give you some example questions of what respond to a situation questions are like, and some example answers. And I'm going to give you 2 sample answers, one using my template and one directly. Like I said, the template one, you may lose a few points because you're not as direct, but you'll gain a lot of points because it will allow you to be structured and fluent, and it's safer. Okay? So either is fine. If you have the confidence, go for the second one. All right, so let's look at the first example question. What have I got here? Da, da, da. Okay. Example number 1. All right. Your friend invites you to dinner, but you already have plans. What do you say? What would you say? Have a think. If you have any ideas, you can try and type in the chat box and I can give feedback on your answer. Okay. All right. Now, if we're using my template answer, we're going to fill in the blanks for each of those. So remember, you've got 20 seconds to think. If you were using the template, you would use this 20-second thinking time to remember the template and figure out what could you fit into each of those blanks. Easy. If you are not using the template, you have to think more fluidly and creatively and try to give a direct answer that is kind and that fits the question. Okay. So let's try a templated answer. For example, when people invite you, they often want to feel valued. So I'd try to be polite. In this situation, I'd probably say, thank you for the invitation. I'm afraid I can't go. I wouldn't just say no. I would suggest another day to meet. Done. Okay, so using that template has provided a structure for me to fill my 40 seconds comfortably. And I've also been kind. I've also responded to the situation. You must respond appropriately. And I have. Okay. If I wanted to go for a direct answer, I might say something like this. Thanks for inviting me. I'd love to come, but I'm afraid I already have plans tonight. How about later this week? I really want to catch up. Do you think we could maybe find a time that suits us both later this week? So again, for me, it would be quite easy to do the direct response because I'm a native speaker who grew up in a country where I was using this kind of language all the time. If you're in that situation, I absolutely recommend that you ignore my template and just go for the direct response, but keep speaking for as long as you can, as politely as you can. If, however, you are someone who doesn't have a bank of natural phrases in your mind, I'm quite sure you'll get a better score if you use the template, okay? Because it leads you in a way where your English will be correct, so you'll get good scores for grammar, you'll get better scores for fluency because it will keep you talking, better scores for pronunciation because it will help you be smooth, and good enough scores for content because you're still being appropriate. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Example number 2. All right, I'm not getting any questions in the comment box today, so we can fly through this, I think. If anyone does want to ask anything, feel free. I am always happy to answer. And I'd also like to let you know that I go live on Instagram every Sunday night. So check my Instagram page. It's also at Neo English with Pam. I'm at Neo English with Pam on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. Check out my stuff and come join my lives. They're just general English lessons on Instagram. Here on PTE, I'm more focused. Here on YouTube, I'm more focused on PTE. But I also do YouTube shorts that are the same as my Instagram reels, which are generally short snippets about English, everything you need to know about English. Okay, so let's go on to question number 2 of respond to a situation. Okay, so remember, you would both see the question and hear the question. And in this case, question number 2. You work for a delivery company. A customer complains to you that your delivery was late. They are angry. What do you say? Now you have 20 seconds to think. And at the end of that 20 seconds, you'll hear a beep where you have to give your 40-second answer. Okay, so in this 20 seconds, you are deciding, do I need the structure of the template, or can I fill 40 seconds by responding to this situation? Now, obviously, to respond to this situation, to be kind, you need to say sorry. You're late with a delivery, so you're going to start leading with an apology. Can you apologize for 40 seconds? If you can, do the second answer. If you can't, follow my template. So let me go. Here's a templated answer for you. When customers complain, they often feel frustrated. So I'd try to be understanding. In this situation, I'd probably say, I sincerely apologize for the late delivery. Let me check what happened and fix this for you. I wouldn't ignore their problem. I would check the order details and promise to fix it. Okay, smooth, clean, done, right? Now, even if you filled in those gaps in the template with some incorrect grammar, you would at least have a well-structured answer. So you would get some decent points for that, no matter what, okay? Now, if we want to throw away the template and aim high, aim for the top score, then you'd need to just start with the apology and keep going. So let me give you an example of what you might say. For example, I sincerely apologize for the late delivery. Let me check what happened. I'll look into it thoroughly and make sure this is sorted out. We'll make sure your next order is on schedule. Is there anything else I can do to make it up to you? Now, that, to someone who uses English for spoken English in an everyday situation sounds very easy. For those of you who don't, there are a lot of phrasal verbs that are almost necessary in that kind of a situation. So if you want, I'll just quickly look at those and make sure you're aware of the meaning. Does everyone know what look into means? Look into is a phrasal verb that means investigate. Okay, so we wouldn't usually say, I will investigate the situation, because it sounds robotic. And that's the kind of thing that PTE is testing for. So they want the phrasal verbs here. All right. In a lot of the rest of PTE, because it's more of an academic test, they often want those fancy words like investigate. But for this question, they're testing language appropriacy, natural English, how you speak. You need your phrasal words. Okay, that's what people would say. I'll look into it. Yeah, I'll investigate, I'll check, I'll find out. Okay, what other phrasal verbs did we have here? Let me remind myself. Sort it out. Yeah, I will sort it out. Sort means to put things in different categories. And if we sort something out, we are organizing it. All right, we are fixing something. So I'll sort it out for you means I'll fix it for you. But it sounds more natural. It's what we would usually use in this kind of situation. So I'll sort it out, or I'll make sure it is sorted out. Put it in the passive there. Okay. And what else do we have? Is there anything else I can do to make it up to you? Make up. Yeah? Make up is one of those phrasal verbs with a million meanings. In this situation, it means to kind of compensate for the mistake. Okay, so I'm apologizing for something by doing something to fix it. So it's like an apologetic action. So we will often apologize by saying, sorry, how can I make it up to you? So if you can remember that, that's also really useful because respond to a situation questions. The situations are often situations where you need to apologize. So if you can memorize a few good apologies, that's also pretty helpful. Yeah. And make up. I'll make it up to you. Great apology phrase in English. Okay, still no questions, guys? That's fine. That means I'm going to give you just one more example and we can finish up today's live quite concisely, which is maybe good for the video replay. All right, let's have a look. Example number, let's go for this one, okay? Example number 3. And exactly as I said at the beginning of the lesson, I want you to imagine a situation where you spill coffee on a friend's clothes, okay? So the PTE question would be, you spilled coffee on your friend's new clothes. The clothes look ruined. What would you say? And now you've got your 20 seconds of thinking time and you're deciding, do I need the template or will I go with the direct answer? So let's compress that 20 seconds of thinking time and we'll go straight to boop and the template answer, okay? Boop. When accidents happen, people often feel upset, so I'd try to be apologetic. In this situation, I'd probably say, I'm so sorry, let me pay for the cleaning. I wouldn't pretend nothing happened. I would offer to pay for cleaning or buy them something new. Okay? So again, the template is helping you to have a structure and flow to your answer. It is important that you put in that sentence like, I'd probably say, I'm so sorry, let me pay for the cleaning. So it is important that you embed a little bit of something direct in there. But if you want to shoot for the top score and if you are confident that your English is natural and clear enough, you can apologize well enough, do it. So, example, direct answer. Oh no, I'm so sorry. Here, let me get you a rag so we can clean you up. Oh, and also let me pay for the cleaning, or perhaps I can replace it for you. I absolutely insist. I feel really bad. There you go. Okay, so the key point, no matter whether you decide to go for a direct answer or a templated answer, is that you're trying to be kind and that you're trying to fill that 40 seconds with an appropriate, kind response. So as you can see, respond to a situation questions are, I think, one of the nicer PTE questions. They certainly don't require the same level of intense preparation as a question like describe image, where you have to, explain a graph to the examiner. They certainly don't require the same level of focused listening as something like retell lecture or the other new questions, summarize group discussion. They're one of the easier question types if you are used to speaking English on an everyday basis. But if you're not, don't worry, you've got my template. Okay, so like I said, I have put those questions that we used and my very, very simple, very, very flexible template in the comments. So I'll post that when I post this replay. I'll also put them in the comments below. And if you want to just check my basic focus strategy videos, please go back and have a look. I have a whole playlist for every single PTE question type. I'm in the process of updating all of them for August 2025, but I will say, except for write from dictation, which you need, I've put in the comments the changes you need to do for that, but except for that one, all of them still work. My strategies still work for every single question type because I have never recommended long, crazy, complicated templates. And that's the main change for PTE from August. Yeah. PTE really wants people to show their own level of English. They don't want people memorizing long, complex templates and just repeating that. I have never recommended that. I do suggest templates, but my templates are always so simple that it's really just a way for you to give a structured answer. It's just basic common sense or basic academic English structure. You still need to, add your own spin, add your own words to it. And that's as it should be. Okay, so thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed today's live, and I hope to see you online again. I will be posting the replay of this immediately, and I'll edit it and make it a little easier to follow and post that again on Thursday. And I'm here every week. And like I said, I'm on Instagram every Sunday night. Oh, and one more thing, I have a PTE book coming out very, very soon. I'm working hard on it. I hope it will be ready at the end of this month. If anyone is interested in buying my book, please email me, info@neo-english.com, and just write waitlist, and you'll be one of the first to get a link to the new book. Okay, good luck with your exams. Bye, everyone.